It's Sunday, y'all. This is another day to let our witness shine. Let's go. When night is falling, when fear is calling, still you're calling me. When faith is lost and my hope exhausted, you will be my strength. Listen. My mind says I'm not good enough. God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving. 'Cause you won't give up. 'Cause you won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Say. Season, you keep repeating promises to me. Hey! Now there's no stopping what you have started till it is complete. Listen, my mind says I'm not good enough. God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving. 'Cause you won't give up. You won't give up on me. You won't give up. You won't give up on me. Everybody move. Feel it breaking out. Your love is so. Feel it breaking out. Let go.
We have the coolest intro music that exists in the body of Christ. What do y'all think? Yeah, I think it's cool. I should have this like a late night show, Sunday night. Give me a band set up, just like a Jimmy Fallon or something, and maybe have a little stand. No, that's just way too much. Yeah, come on in. Say good night. We're going to do it a bit Caribbean tonight. We're going to go to the Providence of Nassau, Bahamas. Am I on? Okay. You all had stuff going on over there. So when you come in, say good night. Good night. Good night. One of the first times I heard that while being in Nassau, it was strange because typically here we of course, we don't use good night for our salutations, our greetings. We use good night as, of course, our departure time. So say good night. Yeah, come on in. Sandra, Anita Freeman, Portia is here. Nisi, good night. Yayis Granny. Janet Pettis, Pamela, good night. Karen, yeah, good night to you. Etchertine, good night. And Elaine, Ramona, where are you guys tonight? You're at home? Where's home? Is it in the area? Let me know where you are watching from. Anybody in another country here? Yeah, good night, Gloria. Good night, Darlene. Does that sound weird or feel weird to you guys?
We have North Carolina, we got Miami.
North Carolina, Miami is in the house. Tanya Baker, good night. George Bird. I just have Facebook here. My auntie Bertha is here. Good night. Agape. I put on my "You Must Be Born Again" shirt, sweatshirt tonight. Okay. Yeah, good night. Run that song back for me. That top. It says, "When my mind says I'm not good enough." Have your mind ever told you that you didn't feel? What? Let me see that. Play that again. I want to take it from the top and see exactly what the words are. I just caught a little bit of it.
It's Sunday,
Yeah, let me
y'all.
have it. Put it up.
This is another day
Yeah.
to let our witness shine. Let's go. When night is falling,
When the night is falling,
when fear is coming,
tears coming,
still you're calling me.
still your call. Can they hear me?
When faith is
When
lost and
faith is lost,
my hope
hope
exhausted, you will be my
my
strength. Listen, my mind
And
says
my mind says I'm not good enough. God, you are enough for me. Boy, we can't just sing these songs and not know what we're saying. I've decided I'm not giving up because you won't give up on me. Ooh, you won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. Okay, I got enough. Ooh, I like that song. When my mind says I'm not good enough, sometimes you'll have doubts about, where you stand, where is God, what's going on, especially as it relates to your adequacies or inadequacies. You just feel like you are not enough to step up and be all that you can be, or you're not qualified, or you can't have it, or woe is me. You have to begin to say what God says about you. He calls you fearfully and wonderfully made. He calls you the apple of his eye. He calls you the head, not the tail, above and never beneath. And so we have to be convinced and even renewed in our minds, knowing that with us, of course, things are impossible, but not with God. All things are possible with our God. So as long as we're in him and he is in us, you are more than enough for the job. Say amen to that, somebody. I pray that you had a life-altering encounter as it relates to our morning session. There were some things that I shared that I went back over. Boy, if you really allow the Spirit of God through the Word of God to permeate your thinking and your choices and your decisions, I promise that you will come out on the other side of every choice and every decision in a better position. I want to take a look at one particular scripture reference that I did not share with you all this morning that I want to share now, and that's found in 1 Corinthians chapter number 7, verse 23. 1 Corinthians chapter number 7, verse 23. Because when you and I received Jesus Christ as Lord, we forfeited the right to do life on our own. I mean, your own choices, your own will. You remember the Garden of Gethsemane experience? When Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he made this awesome statement. He said, Lord, not my will, but your will be done. Because of the pressure and the agony that was going on in his soul at that particular time, facing Golgotha's hill, Calvary, the death, even the cross. It was a very arduous time for him, and his mind was being so bombarded with all kind of thoughts. He said, if there be another way, really, let's get out of here. Nevertheless, every last one of you should keep a nevertheless on you. Sometimes you don't feel like, none of us feel like we want to do all the time what we should do. But there should be a nevertheless on us somewhere in our back pocket, in our jacket pocket, somewhere that we can pull out that nevertheless and say, not our will, but your will be done. And here is one of the scripture references that I've used over the course of my born again days to help navigate me through some of these decisions that were difficult for my flesh. They were difficult for my flesh. Like loving your enemy, that's a difficult decision and posture to take a station in life, especially when your flesh is telling you all sorts of things you can do. Bless those that curse you. Really? You are naturally inclined to like curse those who curse you. You see, but the more we engage ourselves in biblical principles, because of this one particular scripture right here, you were bought at a price. Do not become slaves of men. What translation is that? Is this 23?
Yes, sir.
Give me the King James. Let's see what that says. And then maybe the TPT. Because I have some exciting guests. I wanted to do something on tonight that I talked about on last Sunday evening at Nigtcap. I wanted to get an update on where we actually are with this whole pandemic, this COVID-19. And I wanted those who are experts. I would like to consider them experts. I would like to consider those who are people who are knowledgeable in the field and have had their hands on the pulse of what's going on worldwide concerning COVID-19. And so I wanted to hear from initially Dr. Trudy Hall, and these are tremendous people, Dr. Victor Grisette, and of course Dr. Sophia Smith. And I thank God for their partnership, their love for me, their love for the ministry, keeping me apprised and abreast of what's going on. And all three of them were directly involved in my sitting here today. These people will always be precious people to me. It says, for ye are bought with a price. Be not ye servants of men. Is that what? Let's see. You were bought with a price. Okay, 1 Corinthians chapter number 6. It sounds similar, and I was thinking, this is not. Look at 6 and 20. Same book, 6 and 20. This is 7 and 23. Just take me. For you are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify, that's it. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit. Watch this. Which are God's. Now, give me the TPT, if you would. Let's look at that. Which are God's. Okay, you were God's expensive purchase, paid for with tears of blood. So by all means then, use your body to bring glory to God. Wow. Anything you pay for, you want to have total authority or total autonomy over that thing that you pay for. Okay, well, your body has been purchased by God. And he said your body is his temple. So when we talk about being a witness, testifying, forfeiting some of the things you want to do in life for the sake of glorifying God, I would consider it only right. How about you? Okay, without further delay or ado, I want to bring on our special guest tonight. So if you'll just fill them all in, and I'll have them. Hi, guys. Woohoo! They're all there, all in their places with bright, shiny faces. I so love you all so much. Again, I'm sure you heard me share about your direct involvement in my sitting here today. I mean, is that what you went into the field to do, things just like you see right now? I mean, to have hands on this particular case to the degree when they were kind of wiping their hands with me, wow, you guys stood in there with me, nursed me back to this point. Can I just ask? I don't think I've ever asked you all the fulfillment or joy. Was this the impetus of why you guys got into medicine? Let me start with my very best favorite. My very who then would I'm going to start? Who then would I start with when I say my very best favorite? Okay, let me just clarify something. For the record, you all are my very best favorite. Okay, can I say that? Let me just start with Dr. Trudy Hall. Why did you consider or approach or pursue medicine? Can I just take you back? Do you still share the same feelings of what caused you to enter into the field?
Absolutely. One of the cliches when you interview medical students is that they always say they want to help people. But if you grow up with a passion for people, a passion for caring, if you have a passion to give of yourself to make others' lives better, that is one of the reasons I know why I went into medicine, and I ended up in my field just through an experience that I had in my family that usually happens. So I think a lot of times things happen in your life, and it kind of gears you towards what you want to do in your life, and you really have them as your life experiences.
And let me ask you, do you still feel the same way? Does the passion grow, or does it subside, or how do you remain passionate about? And we're going to get to the subject matter. I was very curious. The thought came to mind, and then segue into how does it make you feel to be like personally involved in like my sitting here today?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever told the story. You go through different phases of your career and your passion. When you first become a doctor, you want to help, one patient at a time. And then, when you do different things, like for me, going into administrative medicine and really helping large groups of people at a time, and then even going into a larger system and really helping populations at a time. So, I kind of gone through those phases. For me, it was so personal. I remember the day when you came in and someone told me that a man of God was in the hospital. Now, all patients are VIPs, all patients are the same. I always say that. But I remember coming to you, and part of it was because I'm a rehab physician and I've treated patients who are paraplegic and quadriplegic. So part of me was seeing you as, the medical director, the chief medical officer of the hospital, but also the other part was really seeing you as a rehab doctor and really coming to your side and assessing you. And I don't know, you probably don't remember this. You could only move your big toe. When I asked you to move your leg, move your arms, move your hand, you could only move your big toe. And I remember saying to you, God is not over with you yet.
Ooh,
There's so
come
much
on.
more you have to do, so many more people you have to touch. And I told you, when you go back to your pulpit, not if, but when God puts you back on that pulpit, I will be in your congregation praising the Lord. I said that to you that day and that night, and you probably had so much going on. But I knew you were a man of faith, and I knew, look, fast forward, we're here now having this conversation. But, and I was there, just for the message, I was there when you got back on that pulpit with my father-in-law, and, just God is so good, and that's God is so good. And,
So the fulfillment that comes with that, what is that like? I know I'm way off the subject matter, but when I see people born again and I see transformed lives and I see them moving from darkness to light, from blindness to sight, from sickness to health, from poverty to wealth, man, there's nothing more fulfilling to me than seeing people transform and transition from one place to another. I mean, it's bigger to me than any paycheck that anyone could ever give me.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no words to describe it. It
Yeah,
really is not. You just know that God has blessed you, and you have to bless others. And you have to look at that. That's how I live my life. That's how my husband, Dr. Miles, how he lives his life. I mean, we both live by that mantra, and God has blessed us.
I'm sitting here and I'm smiling because he's responsible for the smile and you're responsible for the life. I'm indebted to you guys. Dr. Sophia, what about you? The passion. What made you or persuaded you to enter into medicine? Why pick this particular field? Is it generational or talk to me?
No, it's not definitely generational. I am the first doctor of our family. I can't say I was the first to go to college because we did have individuals in my family who did go to college before I did. But the idea of becoming a doctor came about. I would have to start way back in the beginning when I was in elementary school. And back then, there was these schools we call wing schools. And the wing schools actually had a wing of a hospital behind the school where they endured patients who had either cancer, physical challenges, sometimes mental challenges, but they were trying to allow these patients and these children, I should say, to come and be a part of a regular classroom, but part of the day was spent in the wing hospital for them to get either chemotherapy or get whatever other medical care they needed to get. So the parents would drop them off. They would, have certain students who would go back to the wing to pick the kids up, bring them back in the classroom. They can then participate somewhat in some of the classroom. But I was already getting a taste of medicine in different ways. More so, I think it was like the kids had many physical, impediments, and I would watch them just overcome challenges. Maybe one arm only. Sometimes they were blind, deaf. Sometimes both, in a mute fashion. Just many kids, even those who had cancer. So we would, volunteer and send the child and even us back to help them in the clinic back there. And that was probably, I would say, the impetus beginning of things. And fast forwarding along the way, I dibble dabbled as to whether I would go into medicine or not, and just, saw different ways of, like, I think, like Trudy says, is you have that thing, I want to help people, that cliche, but it really is there. You become selfless to this field, and you want to, give yourself to anybody in any kind of way you can. And I went off to, I think as I have now gone into this field of ICU and emergency medicine, came about because my pastor at that time, when I was in college, his son actually developed a myocarditis, as an inflammation of the heart infection from a very bad virus, went on to go into the ICU. And I would leave class and sit down with the family and go down there, talk with the family, meet with doctors. I didn't have, much understanding, but those doctors took me under their wing. They walked me through the ICU. I went on rounds with them. So I developed a new, volunteer time in the hospital. Unfortunately, Nicholas did not go on to live. He died because they were unable to find a heart transplant for him. But just the time I spent there, it just developed where I am today.
And may I ask how you feel or felt, I guess, in seeing me, knowing that you had direct hands in on my situation. I mean, from the hospital was I in La Plata? I was in La Plata. They
Correct.
medevaced me to Washington Hospital Center. I mean, you were there like every step of the way. To see me sitting here today or returning, what's the feeling like for you?
There are no words to even imagine, how I felt from the beginning. From that, I mean, there was never for me, this is not going to happen. I was already, 100%, we're going to get the care he needs. From the beginning, when I got the phone call from Brittany, and I was actually I was at Temple Hills at that time. And when I got the call, it was okay. I put all the foot soldiers in place. Got on the phone, started talking. Went from Ezekiel, who was at that time the director of the ICU for getting the ECMO started. There was never in my mind anything that was going to stop the train. So it was just a matter of just putting the right people in the right place, putting the right tracks in the right place, and everything, from getting you transported within those couple of hours. So that when you arrive there, actually Anna, my daughter, and we drove straight to the hospital, to the helipad to meet and greet them as they got you there, straight to the room, met the doctors there. We were talking everything from the beginning of what was going to happen, what needed to happen, what I knew of your case. And it just, I don't think I ever had an opportunity to look back. It was all like, it was a journey. I wouldn't say it was like an easy journey, but because I had to, listen to the doctors, and what I found very exciting and interesting, that I was so well informed with the doctors. They actually accepted me into the ICU. I participated in rounds every day. I'm not sure how I actually maintained my other job, because I don't remember a day I missed at your bedside, but I also don't remember a day that I actually missed working either. So it was just part of our life, and we all just had the opportunity to be able to speak with the doctors, make sure everything they did, even some of the changes they made in your care, were based upon things that I learned from the pediatric world that the adult world had never done. But they accepted it, they tried it, and again, like one of the doctors said, we're going to do some extraordinary things that are not what we would normally do. And I'm like, I like extraordinary, I like the unusual, let's move in that direction. And so it's just now to fast forward to see every time I think one of the things that I think would hit me more than anything was, I would say, there's no way that he is finished with his journey here, and I cannot not hear his voice. And I cannot not hear what he has to teach me and lead and direct us and the rest of the sheep here, that he has much more to accomplish. So this is almost like a cliffhanger. You've been ministering and guiding us, and all of a sudden everything was going to stop and it's going to be over. I was like, no, that can't happen. There's no way this could be how the story ends. So it wasn't even for me, an opportunity to say absolutely not. It was like everything was, yes, this can happen. Yes, it will happen. And we're just going to make sure you all see. In my mind, what they didn't realize, I said, you don't even know who you're actually taking care of. You don't even know what you're going to be able to see when he starts talking and when he begins to minister and get back into that pulpit. And that's all I could ever see.
Wow, this is so exciting. Nothing like the hand of God touching the hand of man with respect to adding faith to medicine. Dr. Grisette, my main man, my most favorite out of them all. Doc, go ahead. Tell me about your pursuit when you first got started. And the Lord just shared with me why I started off with this questioning. Go right ahead, sir.
So, what got me into healthcare is really, I was a really curious kid. And I always wanted to know how the human body operated. And while, I was a loner kid. I was sort of alone. I was always by myself. But I picked up reading, which was a derivative of something else. And so I wanted to really know how the human body works. So I pursued my doctorate in human and social physiology. And then I actually finished when I came to the United States. I actually went to, which truly, I don't think you know this, I went to one of the oldest DO school, Doctor of Osteopathic School. It was the first one started in the United States. It is A.T. Still University in Arizona. And so I got my second doctorate there in health. And so it is, and I maintain that same curiosity today. How the human body operates and how does it interact socially and how does it interact with pharmaceuticals. That was my decision. That has been my love. I particularly went into respirology, became a respiratory therapist, but my focus was on nutrition and the human lung, which is very rare. And when I talk to people about the human lung and how it relates to nutrition, they kind of raise their eyebrow. Is there a connection? And there is. And so, when I first met you, Dr. Mike, it was, to me, the encounter was a gift for me. I didn't know you. I didn't know much about you. Sophia really, it was the nucleus of all of this. She really orchestrated every single thing. And it's funny how God brought people together long before this occurred. And people were in the right places when Sophia picked up the phone and called. But we had developed relationships before this, right? And so she knew exactly who to call and where to call, and everything was in place. So, the way how I look at this encounter, first it was a gift for me, but I always marvel how God works through people. Without people, there is no miracle, very seldom. Because it always takes one human being to touch another human being, to touch another human being. It is all through connection. It is all through people. And the heavens and the heavens belong to God. The earth he has given unto us. And that's how he works, is through us.
So
but
I recall your
curiosity.
Okay, go right ahead. I didn't hear that last part.
No, I said in a nutshell, my passion for healthcare was curiosity. Curiosity, and I maintain that same curiosity today.
I so clearly remember, so distinctively remembering your voice at my bedside. I can't tell you anything else. It was just your voice. And you told me later that you went to reach out to my hand and I could not move.
Right.
And the Lord made a connection out of this. Let me share with you all so we can move on and get to the matter of the business at hand. I believe that what you all do as it relates to your occupation, it has or is your ministry. It's ministry unto God, unto people, to put people in a better quality position in life. I asked you about these things. Initially, I didn't know. I just thought it was something that I was going to engage you in. But the Lord just shared with me, when the people hear of you all's compassion as it relates to your humanity, as it relates to the divinity that you walk in, as it relates to your hearts towards, there's going to be a receptivity as it relates to what our discussion will involve on today. And it won't be just something that a doctor is trying to get me to do or trying to inform me of, but to hear your hearts about why you entered in. Literally, I heard the compassion of Jesus. I heard the compassion for people. The Bible says that Jesus was moved with compassion. That's what literally caused the miracles to take place within the multitudes. So on tonight, they're not just hearing from a bunch of medical professionals, but they can hear from the heart of God as it relates to this subject matter concerning where we are today in our world concerning COVID-19 and this vaccination. And I want you all to just have at it, give us an update about where we are, where do we stand. Any one of you can lead at any given time. Jump in. I don't know if I have to help navigate or referee or, okay, cut this one off, ask this one this question. I don't know, but I really want you all to give us some idea where we are. I want to inform every last one of you that on this past Wednesday, I had my booster shot and took it very well. I just had very minimum side effects to it. Of course, the sore arm and some other little things, but man, I really kind of, I had a very easy time with that inoculation. So if you all could share with us what you are hearing. This discussion has become so controversial. It has even entered into the league, if you will, of a discussion you don't want. It's like politics and religion. I don't discuss politics and religion. It's almost in that league or that category at this particular time, because some people want you to mind your business as it relates to their vaccination, or if you have, or if they're the haves and the have-nots. And I genuinely want people to be informed, firstly. I have had 4 personal encounters with people going to be with Jesus Christ, 4 very personal relationships with 4 individuals. And not one of them had the shot. Well, with one, the vaccination was not approved at that particular time. And that was Dr. Price, of course. I believe Dr. Price just, gracefully just said, okay, Lord, I'm done my body of work, da, da, da. But the other 3 were like, oh, I wish I would have gotten a shot. One individual, their husband and their son got the shot. They all 3 contracted COVID. They did not have any effects, but the mother died. And what do we say to people? What are you all seeing out there? I know, Dr. Trudy, you and I talked, and you're saying 90+% of people that are in ICUs now are those who have not had the vaccine. Just jump in there and you all talk about it. Let me just give it to you, Dr. Trudy.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I oversee the COVID hospital for the state of Maryland. It's called Laurel 345. It's right here in Laurel, Maryland. The same hospital that Pastor Mike was in for his rehabilitation.
Thank you
And
for
we have
mentioning that. Thank you for mentioning that. I wanted you to share exactly what you do at this particular time. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, so last April, while all the different states were dealing with the pandemic, Governor Hogan really invested into resources to save lives. And those resources that were invested was to reopen back up the hospital. 2019, the hospital's transitioning. We're building out a health and wellness campus, University of Maryland, Capital Region Health. Laurel is one of our locations. And so we just closed 145 beds. So I wasn't surprised when the governor said, can you open them back up quickly? And we reopened back up those beds for really in 4 weeks. We were in the middle of April. We were able to get those beds back up last year. The reason why is when you look at the surges in the hospital, you only have so many beds or capacity to be able to go above the usual care that you provide. The other thing too is you got to understand, once you have COVID, you have to be in a certain kind of environment, a certain kind of pressure room. you can't, you want to be isolated as much as possible. So pretty much the 145 beds that we have at Laurel, we still have other services that are there, but those beds are isolated, and we provide care for behavioral health. Right now, we're the only COVID behavioral health unit. And at some point, we'll talk about really the issue of more behavioral health issues with depression and anxiety that has happened as the result of this pandemic at all ages, in children as well as adults. But those med-surg and COVID beds. So where we are right now is we are staffed for 80 of those beds to take care of patients. We're getting patients from all over the state, Southern Maryland, Hagerstown, that COVID patients, and they're coming there. Majority of those patients are not vaccinated. They're not vaccinated. And when you talk about the reason why I went into medicine, I am my brother's keeper. And the part that hurts me the most is when I have to have a discussion with a family member that their loved one is not going to make it. And I think people may not understand, modern medicine has come a long way, but we still can't cure cancer. And there are some patients, because again, if you have the vaccine, there are some patients that are, can get COVID, even though you're vaccinated, but they're not as prone to be hospitalized and not as prone to be ventilated, and also not as prone to pass away. So that, again, back to that difficult conversation I have to have with a wife, that your husband will not be able to make it. We have him on a ventilator. His lungs are shut down. The virus with this protein is pretty much just like ruffling to tissue paper, and it really breaks down the sacs and the balloons of your lung. It breaks down your organs. Literally, we cannot combat this once it's gone that far. And again, it's not only in the beginning of the pandemic, it was thought, it was only the elderly or people have comorbid conditions. We have 20, 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds who die every day because of this virus. So, we're at a place right now where this is so serious. And I know I had talked to Pastor Mike, where we in medical professionals, I'm sure Dr. Sophia and Dr. Victor is going to say the same thing. We are petrified of what's going to happen with this holiday season. So I'm going to stop there and let some of my other colleagues talk about it. But we are literally petrified of what's going to happen with this holiday season, with the remainder of those who have not gotten vaccinated, with those, again, we're promoting that you get your booster if you can. It just builds up that immunity. The immunity over time, it goes down. So it just builds you back up to a healthy place. And then also continue to practice safe practices. I mean, wear your mask, sanitize. There's a lot of asymptomatic COVID patients, vaccinated, unvaccinated, that are still in our midst. And we really have to make sure we stay protected again. So again, I'm gonna stop there and let my other colleagues kind of chime in, but that's from my lens, what I'm seeing. And that's what's really breaking my heart. And really, I want to, talk to your listeners, my brothers and sisters, to say, we have choices, and we don't want to wait till it's too late.
I will add to what Trudy is saying. There is a pandemic, and there is a pandemic within the pandemic, and it is the pandemic of the unvaccinated. That is what we are seeing today. As Trudy so eloquently stated, most of the patients that you're seeing now in the ICUs that are on ventilators are the unvaccinated. And so, there are a tremendous amount of questions about the vaccine. But before I say that, I'm also on the heels of something Trudy also said. And it is the mental health issue that we are dealing with. The mental health, in Colorado, the institution that I work with, we raised the flag of mental health being a pandemic also. And it has gotten to proportions that are sometimes and some days unmanageable. Our ERs are filled with mental health patients. Patients are in crisis. There are no beds for them, but I'm not going to get in too much to that. But it is a perturbation of the pandemic. The vaccine, there are so many questions about the vaccine. And I will just clearly state for education purposes, the mRNA technology is old. I was speaking to someone this holiday weekend, and they were asking, I don't feel like I should take it because, they found this thing so quickly. And I said, well, no, they did not find this quickly. The mRNA technology has been around for decades. It has not been used because we were able to find vaccines aforetime and use it. In these circumstances, we were unable to, and so the lack of better terminology pulled the technology out and came up with the vaccine. It is a very simple vaccine. There is no attenuated virus that they're putting in you, because many people believe that it is not. It is actually, this technology actually allows your body to create this protein that your body can recognize it and then create antibodies. So if you do get infected with coronavirus, it knows what the spike protein looks like. And so when you get infected with the virus, it can immediately recognize it. One of the things about viruses is, especially RNA viruses, is the body does not recognize it quickly in time. So this coronavirus comes in, and what I call it actually knocks on the cells of the door. The cells open it up, it comes in, it recreates parts, it disassemblies itself, very clever, reassembly. Before reassembly, it uses your own ribosome of your cells to recreate parts of itself. And when there is sufficient, it reassembles itself, and that is when the body recognizes that, but it's too late. What the vaccine does, it will allow your body to recognize it immediately, and because you have the vaccine, it has already set up these antibodies that will be able to initiate your immune system. And so what you will feel is, you may feel, a little sick, but that sickness that you feel when you're vaccinated and you get infected with, if you get infected, it's really an immune system you are feeling that is working. When you get the vaccine, you also feel that is your immune, and that's how you know the vaccine is working. That one of the things of the human body, inflammation is a protective mechanism. And so when you feel that inflammation in your arm, and you get a little fever and a little tired, that the vaccine is doing what it is supposed to do. So, it is, and in the general public, Pastor, it's really about education. The news is not the best place to get your information. Mm-hmm. The news, they do what they do. They sell airtime, and airtime is sold by drama and sensationalism. If I just simply tell you the boring truth, there is no reason to sit glued to the television. But if I package it, last month, we were interviewed, and I'm not going to call the channel. We were interviewed, and they had a story, and they wanted to spin a narrative. They asked us about what is going on. We told them exactly what was going on within our space, but it was not what they wanted to hear. And so when the story came out, and my wife said, didn't such and such, but she heard it. I wasn't at home when it aired. And I said, that's not what we said. They said we had no comment. We had a lot of comments, but it is not the comment that can support their narrative. Right. And so I always caution people, if you want answers to your questions, seek it from either a source, usually your PCP, your physician, get it from them. Don't rely on the sensationalism of the news.
Now,
As I
Doc,
said,
as believers, and Dr. Sophia, I'll let you in. As believers, why can't we just believe God and be healed and not have the vaccine? You know, because it seems like I've been putting a lot of emphasis on getting the vaccine. What's the station or the position of believers this day? Would you consider that faith, foolishness, presumption? Talk to me about that group of people, because we
If I
have
may,
a bunch of
Sophia,
Christians
sorry,
on here
may I
now who
answer?
are refusing to take the shot because they're going to believe God.
So I believe that God provides, but I go to work every day.
Okay.
I certainly, if he provides, but I have to get up, take a shower, put my clothes on, and go to work. I also, faith without works is dead.
Mhm.
Faith without works is dead. God has provided in the earth. I believe God will provide, but I have to go to the store to get the food. He has provided the food, but we have to harvest the food. And we have to sell the food, and I have to buy the food. God provides. He has provided wisdom in medicine and science. God has provided. What are we waiting for? God, I'm waiting on you. Well, I have already provided. The vaccine is provision, and so I think sometimes we get a little, I would say, we get a little confused sometimes in Christendom. Most people, we have gotten accustomed to the flu vaccine. We take the flu vaccine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take the flu vaccine every year. People don't think about it anymore. And does that mean you don't have faith? Usually when I act upon something, that kind of demonstrates my belief. It does not negate my belief at all. So I think sometimes we get a little confused with what is faith. But faith is very real, and faith is very actionable. Without action, you can't tell if there is any faith. What I can tell is if you do nothing and nothing happens and you fail, I can probably say, well, maybe you're telling me I have faith, but I don't see it, because what I'm seeing is the fruit of failure.
Dr. Sophia, what are you seeing out there in your workspace? What are you seeing people coming in who've not been vaccinated? What's the majority doing out there?
So I'm in the pediatric world, so I have the opportunity to, of course, speak with the parents. I have used the chance of me in the emergency room taking care of all my patients to talk to every family who comes in there to question them about what they do and do not understand about the vaccine. Like Victor was saying, we have to be careful where we get our information from. Most people have heard so-and-so said somebody died of something, and there's all these connectors that really do not connect up to anything. Because at the end of the day, the beginning was never the truth. It was a lie. So it's now perpetuated in the earth, and people now begin to latch on to that and believe that before they believe the truth. So that's a difficult thing, that we have lots and lots of misinformation. And when I walk in the room after, of course, introducing myself and addressing their children's needs, my question to them is, what do you understand about the vaccine? If you are not vaccinated, I'm not here to strong arm you. I'm not here to force you into getting vaccinated, but I'm also here to make sure that you are armed with correct information. So when you make a decision to or to not get vaccinated, you do that with complete truth and clarity, and not with fear or untruth and misconceptions. So, and I tell everybody they can't understand the vaccines without understanding the incredible power of what the immune system can and can't already do. And so I kind of, mimicking what, or listening and just paraphrasing what Victor was saying too. People assume that, they are what the vaccines are not doing. And you're saying, talk about whether or not we should go and do it. Does that mean I do or do not have faith? But vaccines alone, without the immune system of the body, mean nothing. They're two separate entities. But vaccines ultimately boost the immune system that we already have in place, because we already have a wonderfully created immune system that God has given us. And these vaccines, when they have been created, they're created to now strengthen our own immune system and equip us to do the extraordinary work that God has already created to do. Like military drill, vaccination just ensures that our defense are basically fully prepared to fend off this dangerous, nefarious disease, this COVID. And I try to break it down to them as much as possible, make them understand how this works. And like everybody thinks this, we made this creation very quickly, too fast, but this mRNA technology has been around for quite a long time. COVID has been around for a long time. We have to think about SARS, we have to think about MERS, those type of diseases that took place from the Middle East, and also in respiratory issues. We've been talking about and studying COVID for quite a long time, so no, this was not very quick. This is something I think what took place and it actually occurred, and the reason why things worked together very well, all the silo walls came down. Everything and everybody were communicating across the country, across the waters, something that never had happened before. Everybody's in their own little, silo, their own little cell, trying to become the number one person to create the best thing. But we realized something very interestingly happened. We needed everybody, and we were able to now take these vaccines, take the test, and use people, some of the vaccines created across the waters to different countries to try to test out quickly and fast. So it wasn't that things happen fast, it's that we begin to talk, we begin to communicate, we begin to utilize everybody's information and share. And that, I think, was what created and has helped us to get where we are to this technology and to be able to treat and to give people the help they needed. There's been, like Trudy was saying, too many deaths, too many. And now for me, I'm in the pediatric world. So now you're hurting my kids who, those under 5 years of age, cannot get vaccinated. So their parents.
Those who are under 5?
So right now, from 5 years and above, can't get vaccinated. Children 5 and above can't be vaccinated. But now children under 5, can get the disease. We've diagnosed COVID in babies as young as 3 and 4 days of age, when they've gone home and their parents have been sick and have gotten, the child sick. So this is not
3 or 4 day old babies have contracted COVID?
They've gotten COVID, yes. And babies have died from COVID.
Babies have died?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Some babies are born.
Pardon me?
Some babies are born with COVID.
Babies are born with COVID.
Yeah, the Delta variant, when COVID first started, the Alpha, we didn't see the effect children as much. And the few children that did get COVID in the first rounds really didn't respond as now. But the Delta variant seemed to be affecting pediatrics equal, not as much as adults, but it's definitely, because I know I work for a pediatric hospital, and we have had 3 teenagers on ECMO. So,
and that's the Delta variant. And now, of course, you say these children are getting it. Now, there are a great deal of kids, I would say probably 15%, 16% of children who are asymptomatic and are carriers. Their immune systems are created differently than adults. It's the same immune system, but they are able to sometimes, handle the viruses in a different way. We don't understand everything very much. It's a new virus, and you're all, it's not new, I should say. The variants that are coming out, especially even this new one, the Omicron, that's the newest one that's now.
Is that the one coming out of Africa now?
South Africa, Hong Kong, Israel, yes, sir. And that new variant is now the newest one since Delta. Now, I have to say, there are variants that are always being created, because as the virus multiplies and it creates itself, it always makes enough mistakes that sometimes it defeats itself, but there are ways when it actually multiplies and it may create a stronger version of itself. And that's with the Omicron this variant has a significant amount of mutation. I think something to 230 different mutations at the level of the spike protein. And this actually gives its ability to be transmissible much easier, and also helps with the virus to infect cells more easily. So,
sorry.
Go ahead, Peter.
And to the tune of what you are saying, Sophia, and we saw the alpha, the reproductive number, which is the spreadability of the virus. It was high, at least we thought it was. Then the Delta came along, and the reproductive number is higher, and so it spreads much faster. One of the things, though, about the COVID is, though it is indeed bad, the difference with the COVID is the mortality rate is lower than the other pandemics we have had, short-lived pandemics. But the spreadability, it spreads so fast because it multiplies, exponentially. And so that's why, again, it is so important to get vaccinated. Once a virus gets into the community, and I tell people, do not get too excited when you hear there is a new variant. It will always happen. We have that happening with flu right now, always, every year. By the time you and I get vaccinated, it's probably a different variant, But so that is going to have, COVID is with us forever. It's not going anywhere. It will normalize, and we would develop herd immunity somehow, but it will normalize. But it will continue to mutate, and we will continue to have new strains. The only thing is we will stop talking about it. And so when the news comes out, I tell people, don't be overtly anxious about what you're hearing. The virus is behaving as viruses do. So it is not truly news. It is just simply science.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the fear, because we got to be very careful that we don't perpetuate people to feel hopeless and helpless.
Good.
And I'm glad Sophia talked about this Omicron. That hit the news all this weekend. Over 30 mutations. There was a variant that was in South Africa last year that kind of came and fizzled. So we're always going to have this. Let me tell you, we are at an arms race, and the arms race is getting the vaccine. We have to get to herd immunity. We have to get to the place where this country is no longer having 70,000, 80,000 new cases every day. We have to get our numbers down. Maryland, stay in Maryland. I mean, we're still in the 60s with vaccination rate. Prince George's County, we're kind of, have come up there, in the 60s and 70s, but it's that last 10 to 15% that we need to get vaccinated. So that way we have a way for our community to have some level of herd immunity. And what happens with herd immunity is you have enough people vaccinated that even if you do have a mutation that comes into your community or into your country, you at least have some level of immunity so that it doesn't spread as rapid. So where we are right now, and I want to break this down to our next 4 to 6 weeks of our life. We just had a Thanksgiving holiday. Many of us ate at a table unmasked. You will get a call that someone that attended may be positive, or you yourself may have symptoms. The problem right now with the Delta variant and COVID, it acts like a cold. It acts like a flu. It literally, the sniffles, the fever, there's nothing, very remarkable that tell you do that. It's just something that you always have. So the question is, once you know that, you have to take action. You have to get tested. You have to quarantine. You have to talk to those that are around you to tell them that you have symptoms. And I'm telling you, time matters, because not only are you looking at yourself, you're looking at the ones you love, you're looking at your household, you're looking at the people that you work with. Within 5 to 7 days, you need to get tested. You need to have that time where you also will quarantine. If you're at home, you need to wear a mask indoors. You need to bleach all your utensils. You need not to share nothing with anyone in your household. You don't want to give it to your loved ones. We have to take this time very serious. And again, if as much as possible, please get vaccinated now because your Christmas is 3 weeks away. And you want to have your immunity as much as possible prior to you going into the Christmas holiday. Everyone is earning for love, is earning for hunger. Everyone's so happy to see their families, but you don't want it to have it at a cost. And the cost is something that you will never be able to reverse, is either getting it yourself or giving it to a loved one. I mean, it hurts so much when I see families devastated because they had a function, someone brought it in, and everyone has it. It happened to my own family. My nieces and nephews, they all got together, 6 kids, boom, all got COVID. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it, we really, really have to be careful. And again, these next 4 to 6 weeks could be decisions that you make that can impact your life forever. So I do want to just bring this in as we're talking about it, because that's how passionate I am, because I'm tired of seeing the pain. I'm tired of seeing the suffering. I am my brother's keeper. And I really want to say, I know, again, there's a lot of fear and anxiety, but what I do know, if you're unvaccinated, you're 14 times more have a risk of dying if you get COVID than if you're vaccinated. That is data statistics I can take to the bank. And also, if you are positive and you're over 65, you have high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney problems, sickle cell disease, and if you have symptoms, make sure you seek emergency care, as well as options for monoclonal antibody infusion. It's an hour infusion. If you do become positive, we have them all throughout the county. We also do it at Laurel Medical Center. But you can get this hour infusion within the first couple of days. It has to be less than 10 days of when you get infected. And it could 70% less chance of having to be hospitalized or be getting on a ventilator. So I do want to remind everyone that's listening that monoclonal is at least one way to try to prevent death and harm if you do become positive.
Okay, wait, Doc.
Also,
Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second, Dr. Sophia. And people are hanging. We're beyond our time, but people are hanging in there. They're asking questions. The numbers are still up, indicating that they're very much interested in what we're saying. So if I can get at least 20 more minutes from you guys, that would be so wonderful. I would appreciate that. So we are 3 days out from Thanksgiving when we've met. So you said within 7 days, if you're having any of these kind of symptoms, you should be tested, or should you just go and get a test? And I want to know more about this infusion you just mentioned that you can get. Would that be especially for those who have not been vaccinated, or if you've been vaccinated as well? Clarify some of that for me, what you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's for any patient. So you're going to have patients who are vaccinated who end up becoming infected with COVID. And then obviously the group that we're most concerned about is those that are unvaccinated that are coming down with COVID. The monoclonal antibody, what it is, the monoclonal antibodies, we've used them to treat cancer and many diseases for decades. And what it is, it's literally an artificial antibody that will help to bind your cells so that the COVID spike protein does not bind. So it actually boosts up your immunity and helps to protect the COVID virus from really ravaging your organs and causing harm, which is lung failure, organ failure, kidney failure, muscle failure, all the things that can happen because of symptoms. So it's really important. If you get it early, we prefer like within the first 1 to 3 days of you being diagnosed. If you meet your criteria, you go talk to your physician. Your physician can refer you for this procedure. It's like getting antibiotics. It's an infusion, less than an hour, and it will hopefully help to minimize your risk of being hospitalized or getting on a breathing machine.
Well, why would I want to do that and not want to take the vaccine? Because the fear is the same, isn't it? Because I hear people all the time, Christian, I don't know what's in that stuff, man. They just created something. Well, neither do we know what's in 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. We don't know what's in the special sauce. So, and then there's this group who feels like if they build up on natural herbs and vitamins and zinc and vitamin C and D, that they are equally as protected as the ones that take the vaccine. What do you do to subside the fear of those who don't want to take this vaccine? How do we get, because I believe the basis of most even Christians in not taking the vaccine is fear-based. And how do we get that extinguished?
So I'm gonna let my other
Did I
colleagues
stump
talk,
my audience?
and I'm
Did I
gonna
get? Did I
share a
stump?
conversation I had with my own brother this weekend, who is refusing to get vaccinated. So I'm gonna let my other colleagues talk, because this one's personal for me as well. But I'm gonna let my other colleagues talk, and I'm gonna show you the conversation I had with my brother, who's a man of God, just this weekend.
Well, some of the fear, not some, a lot of the fear comes from what someone doesn't know. Knowledge alleviates that fear. We had last 2 weeks ago, we had a community town hall, and it was myself, as the vice president of the hospital, and a surgeon and an epidemiologist, and we have regular town halls with the community, and those were some of the questions, and they were a fear of, some people believe that we are putting parts of the virus in them, and that's we explained that. One is, we came to this so quickly, we explained that. The other one is, why do we have to take 2 and not 1? We explained that. The other one was, and it's steeped in some really, really old, nefarious ideas based upon events that actually occurred a very long time ago.
Right.
And if I just use one phrase, it would be Taskiski Amen. And everybody goes right back to that. And they believe that this is still occurring. Then there is a really nefarious website that tells people that the government is actually putting nano chips in them so they can track them. So it is all over the place, Pastor. And none of those things, hold any water at all. But we do know. So we tell people, do not frustrate yourself about what you don't know. Let's talk about what we do know, because we can have endless conversations, infinite conversations about what we don't know, because it can never come to an end. But what we do know is the science of mRNA technology. We do know that. We do know that when the patients that take the vaccine are protected. We do know that. We do know that, yes, you can get COVID, just like if you get the flu vaccine, you can get the flu. It's just that you get a milder version of it and you keep going on your merry way. Let's talk about what we do know and not what we don't know. Don't let what you do not know and the fear of what you do not know stop you from making actions today, making responsible actions. And one of the things at the end of the town hall, we were asked to comment on was, why did I take the vaccine? And I said, I took the vaccine for really 2 reasons. It's for, as Trudy said in the beginning, I am my brother's keeper. And really, I took it not only for me, I took it for me and the other person with whom I come in contact, because I am not on an island, and some people are carriers and they may have COVID and not have any symptoms, but they can affect other people. So I have a responsibility to me, but I also have a responsibility to you, especially if I'm in close proximity to you. So I take it for myself and I take it for the other person.
Sophia, jump in.
No, so I think it's a lot of the same thing everybody says. I totally agree with. A lot of it is fear and misconception. And again, what they don't know is the big thing that I think holds people back. But they're also listening to the wrong sources. more like, who is your antenna linked in, who has your ear, and who are you trying to gather information from, and all the people you're looking for. Because if you look hard enough, you're gonna find the answer you want to hear. So, people will kind of navigate to find the folks and the people to give answers that, help them to say, well, this is the reason why I don't want to, because of things that are not even true or even fact based. So all the information, I mean, there's questions about, oh, they're just, selling us this, medicine, so they can make money. Well, pharmaceuticals make money. Okay. We can't get past that, but, there's things about, they're going to put chips inside of us so they can trace us. I always say, do you have a cell phone? They say, yes. They say, you've been traced. So it's like, you've already been, unfortunately, you've already been traced. So this idea of putting in you, you're too late now because you've already been traced. So you have to really try to, I think you have to negate the things and try to, one thing I do when I try to get to their level, I get it. I understand. We as a medical profession, I was the one, who did the Tuskegee trial. I was the one who did the radiographic, there's a long history of things that we did from the medical field to our race, and we have to own it. We have to understand that they are feeding radioactive to kids and orphans to see what the reaction were. They were doing there's a number of things that we as medical professionals have to own. But just like I look at in the racist issue, when white people worry about the who lynched the black person, and no, you weren't the one who pulled the cord and lynched him, but if you have the understanding, okay, it happened. We got to get past that. We understand that. We know things in the past, our history, we cannot continue to let that hold us down and hold us back from what our future is and what things can be reduced and what things get better. And so we do one thing, that if we don't get vaccinated, we have data that shows that you will die. We know the information is that the vaccines do work. So those are factual information. Everything else you're concerned about, everything else you worry about is history. We can move forward. We can get this thing behind us if everybody just joins together, gets the correct information, gets the correct data. So I sit there and just basically refute everybody's information. I spend very close to making sure that, hey, give me what are your fears? And once they give me the fears they have, I'm able to say, what does that mean to you? How factual is that to you? Does that even make sense to you? So once you break it down, I've been able to really change the minds of a lot of our patients.
Okay. Well, I have a comment and then a question. Then I want to go back to Dr. Trudy to hear her story, because I'm nosy. Inquiring minds want to know what happened with her brother. But what Dr. Grazette mentioned about the reason why he received the vaccine, because of the obligation he has, as Dr. Trudy mentioned, being my brother's keeper. That's certainly one element of why. As a matter of fact, I was the last one in my home to decide. All the rest of them went out, and I'm sitting back. I mean, the last one who should have been the last one should have been me, with respect with the pre-existing things that's going on and what they say are still going on with my lungs. But I, like others, I needed to have, obviously, some peace about it. And I was exploring different things relative to my walk with God. And I inquired of the Lord. The Bible says, in all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Well, I didn't stay adamant about it, because one element of my slothfulness was about how I know I'm capable of believing. I mean, call it foolishness, call it presumption, call it whatever you want to call it. I just know, relative to my purpose and assignment, that nothing can take me out at this particular time. Well, that may sound foolish to some. That really may sound foolish. But here was the determining factor. The Lord told me, as a leader, I have a God-given responsibility to lead people and influencing them into doing the right thing. So a great big part of my decision to take it was to somehow try to ease the fear of others that I have a level of influence with. Does that make sense? Because as a pastor, and I've had different discussions with pastors, and a lot of us have decided to be engaged in taking this vaccine to calm some of the issues and fear. And I know many people who have taken the shot or the vaccine simply because I have. And so I want to use even this platform, use partners of the ministry, use believers of like precious faith to say, okay, guys, we are all standing here telling you that the science proves that this will literally keep you from being hospitalized or even more severely dying from something you don't have to die from. Dr. Trudy will tell you, well, I don't know if she could tell you, but one of my dearest partners of this ministry went to be with the Lord in her facility. She just absolutely refused to take the shot. Now, her husband took it, her son took it, she denied it, all three of them contracted it. She landed up in the hospital, in ICU, intubated, all of that. I can say it, I don't think she can say any of that, but died. And it's so unnecessary. You are in heaven when we need you here more in the earth than Jesus needs you in heaven. And she said, well, my time is just coming. She was A-OK with it and left it alone, but left her family in shambles and in misery and grief and pain. And I have to be one of those who have to go and console and, pray and believe God and da. So I wanted to use this night and thank you guys for being a part of it, just to try to encourage. And I'm going to give you some final words. I want to hear Dr. Trudy's story, then let her give her final appeal to people concerning why they should or whatever you want to share, and then we'll just go around and conclude from there.
Yeah, real quickly, I got vaccinated for my 92-year-old mother who lives with me. I got vaccinated for my 17-year-old daughter who lives with me. I got vaccinated for my husband, who I love dearly, who I want to make sure he's around for a long time. Again, I got vaccinated for the ones that I love. My brother's story. Love my brother to death. My brother lived in California. Got a call in July. His wife, his daughter, and himself all came down with COVID. Daughter had a seizure, had to be hospitalized. He was in the hospital. He went home. And now, mind you, both of his sisters are doctors. We both told him, get vaccinated, get vaccinated, get vaccinated. He says, oh, I have faith. I'm not getting vaccinated. The Lord will protect me. The Lord will protect me. Okay. He almost died. His 30-something-year-old daughter had a seizure. She almost died. Fast forward this weekend. Okay, this was July. 90 days is gone. You got vaccinated, right? No, I still feel like the Lord will protect me. What do you say? You saw death right in front of your face, but you still can't. This it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. So for me, it's so personal that I could actually have someone in my family who is educated, who has two sisters who are doctors, and still really feel that their faith is enough. Faith wasn't enough when you had to have oxygen on and you almost died. Wow. But that faith still is enough. So I'm going to say, and again, I'm having to go, no, my brother's not coming over for Christmas because he's not vaccinated.
I love it.
Stay home. but I am being serious. I don't want to see you in my hospital bed. I don't want to have to talk to your mother, your wife, your brother, your son to say, I'm sorry that your loved one is no longer with you. The people that are left behind, the pain and the guilt, it is immense. It is immense. And you have a choice. That's the part about it. You don't have to go through this. You don't have to go through this. You don't have to take the risk. You put your seatbelt on every day when you get into your car. That is to protect you. You don't pray that you get in an accident and fly through the windshield. You put your seatbelt on. That's your protection. So there are things that we do every single day, like Victor said, you got to eat. So there's things we do every single day that protects us. And again, it's the choices we have to make. So I'm going to say one more thing. Pastor Mike did a town hall with me with the county. And I said, you know what? I've been doing town halls and been doing with the doctors and health department. I'm bringing a man of God onto this because I think people needed to understand the spiritual and biblical piece of this. And you said something that I keep repeating: when the hand of man is touching the hand of God to give you a solution, why would you not take it?
Wow.
And I have quoted you many times ever since you said that on that Prince George's County Town Hall. But I want to thank you for being in the forefront of your ministry and bringing this, because you're saving souls, but then you're also saving lives. And that is, to me, so important. And I'm so glad you invited us to be on.
Thank you. Dr. Grisette.
We are no longer riding on donkeys, and we are no longer pulling go-karts. We are no longer living in huts, in straw huts. We are no longer running our food down, hunting. All of those things have changed because the world has changed and God has given the man wisdom. We no longer squat, women no longer squat in the modern world and deliver children. We go to the hospital. I'm not sure what the difference is between all of the progression of change that brings us to this point and getting a vaccine. I don't know what the difference is. And so it is fear. And the piece about faith, I will say, is Paul says, and Paul declared he has faith, he can eat anything. He says it was made for you, blessed and eating. However, I will not allow my faith to make someone else to stumble. And that is what you demonstrated, Pastor, when you got the vaccine. You are very comfortable. Your faith is exactly where you are and it protects you. But you didn't take it because you didn't have faith. You took it because you wanted to support. There are people whose faith is in a different place, or they understand differently, or they change the narrative. But by you demonstrating, not denying your faith, you demonstrated. You didn't allow your faith to obstruct other people. And that is why you took the vaccine, not because you don't believe that your body operate as God designed it. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, though I can eat meat, Paul says,
right,
I will not eat it if it's going to offend you. If it is going to stray you, cause you to stray, or cause you to make a mistake, I am not going to. But it has nothing to do with my faith. It is because I love Jesus Christ died for you and for me, so I do it for you. That is what you have done. And that is the influence and the example. And I really urge every listening ear to let wisdom rule your decision, not the narrative of sensationalism or the narrative of nefarious, unsubstantiated websites. There's the wisdom of science and the wisdom of God. If God's hand touches man's hand to give you something, please take it.
Ooh, so good, Doc. Okay, Sophia, it's on you. I don't know how you follow behind those two.
I know. But thank you, Dr. Mike, for giving us the opportunity to share, what we've been going through for this past year and almost 2 years now, and being able to make people see the reality, of what's going on. Because what we're telling you all and giving information to everybody is truth. And it's the reality that we live in every day. We get up every morning and come home every night. But thank you for this opportunity, and thank you also for taking the stance of getting that vaccine. I know we have multiple conversations about how a man of faith, stands in front of a vaccine and takes it, and does it change people's vision and the perception of your faith? Does that mean my faith is shaken? Does that mean it changes my stance? But it did not. It only made you stand stronger. It made people to now hear your voice and follow what you've done to make themselves now and their families and people around them safe. And thank you for doing that for all of us. And I tell everybody, I took the vaccine, for my family. I took the vaccine for the people who, are out there. And I think for me, it's the most vulnerable population, our children. And those are the ones who cannot take the vaccine. So for them, they're our future. They're our next generation. And without them being around, I take my vaccine because I want to protect them and be able to give them the chance to, an opportunity to be what I've become and to grow and do what the work God has given them to do. Because if we stop them at their growth, then what's the future for America? What's the future for the world? So I thank you for this. And everybody, I tell them to please roll your sleeve. I quote you to my friends, roll your doggone sleeve up and get the vaccine. So I told that, but so we need to get the shot, and everybody, and the more people get the shot, the closer we will move to herd immunity. People keep using that word of herd immunity because they want it to happen now. We're not close to it. We're not even, scratching the surface to get there. But if more people who take the vaccine, we get to where then we can, as Victor said, live with what the different variants that come out, live with the ability to be able to control and stop all these unnecessary deaths.
Again, thank you guys so much for being with us on tonight. I pray that you all have heard something that may have influenced your decision in a way where you'll go roll up your doggone sleeve and take the shot. I promise you, you're going to be A-OK. You have my word on it. I know this by the Spirit of God. If it were not so, I would not be saying this to you all. And I pray that you have enough confidence in my leadership that I wouldn't set these precious people up who love God, who are born again, who partners, love Dee Dee and I, and share with you something that would harm you. Again, on tonight, we have to sow, we have to give our tithes and offering. Don't forget No Lack Nation. We did something so beautiful for one of the partners in Baltimore, and we're about to do something so awesome for another partner. You'll be able to see the results of that very, very soon. On the behalf of Dee Dee and I, on the behalf of Jesus the Christ, I want to commend all of you for at least listening. You stayed on tonight, and I know we're way beyond our time. And maybe this information was not just for you, but it's for you to have to share with others so that you can be equipped to, of course, be all that you should be to those who you love and are a part of your life. So you know how to give. There's information I believe they're putting on the screen now. Go ahead and give your tithes and offering. But to me, the greatest contribution you can give, especially germane to tonight, is the contribution of giving your loved ones your life being vaccinated and protected so you can protect yourself and as well protect them. I think that's the greatest contribution that you can give. And you can go practically anywhere these days. As a matter of fact, I had appointments at the local Safeway and got all three of my shots at the same place. Target and pharmacies and CVS, everywhere you can receive these vaccinations. Okay, we got to go. Remember these words found in 2 Corinthians chapter number 5, verse number 7. Indeed, We walk by faith, not by sight. No doubt about it. We'll see you. God bless you all. Thank you, guys.
God bless.
Woo, that was good.